Welcome you this evening to Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, the cradle of African Methodism, that which started on this corner back in 1787, is now spread across 5 continents, 40 nations, where people worship under the banner of African Methodism, something that was born and bred in Philadelphia. Ironically, the reason that we are an African Methodist Episcopal Church is rooted in events in Pennsylvania in the 1780s that sadly reflect events happening in Philadelphia in 2022. When black and white worshipers were able to worship together, able to praise God together, but then the evil of racism and white supremacy slipped into the pews. Black worshipers were made to sit in the back at St. George's Church. And when the back was not far enough, they constructed a balcony and put black worshipers in the balcony. Black people helped pay for that church, but were denied a right to full participation in the local governing of that church. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Today we are in a state, in a commonwealth, where black people pay taxes like everyone else. And yet when we choose to decide for ourselves who will govern us, how we'll be governed, how we'll be led, those same forces have seeped back in again, and under the guise of looking out for us, seek to undermine the democratic process and our God-given right for self-determination. And so we're here tonight, not for any particular candidate. Let me tell you, those who know me know I've had a few issues with the mayor. But if an attempt was made on even our current mayor by someone outside of this city who voted for him, I would stand and open the doors of Mother Bethel even for him or for anybody else in any political party in Philadelphia. This is our city. We won't let anybody from Adams County or Washington County or Schuylkill County decide who governs us. Come on, let's put our hands together. Democracy started in this place. We will not let it die on our watch. So tonight, we are here. I'm Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler, the pastor of Mother Bethel. Thank you to our choir, Jonas Crenshaw, and those voices who are here on tonight to be a blessing to us. This evening, we have a laundry list of people who will come before you to let their voice be heard in this critical moment when democracy is under attack. And so without further ado, we will be led in an opening prayer and blessing by my good friend and brother, Rabbi Mordecai Liebling, who is the Director of Social Justice, the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College. He will be followed by Bishop Dwayne Royster, who will state the purpose, the Executive Director of Power Interfaith.
Shalom, salam, shanti, peace, good evening. We pray to the one who goes by many names. We pray for a religion of democracy. We are here from many faith traditions, but the one tradition we have in common is the religion of democracy. That is the religion that we come together to defend and uphold. The enemies of democracy have a religion as well, a religion that's based on racism and misogyny and control. We have a religion of democracy that is based on equality, freedom, and inclusion. God is the guarantor of democracy. God is the power that makes for equality. God is the power that makes for democracy. God is the power that makes for our salvation, which means the full realization of each one of us. And we can only be fully realized in the religion of democracy, where each person is sacred, where each person has dignity, where each person has the ability to pray to God in the way that they choose to pray, and not anyone telling them how to pray. We pray together, and prayer means taking steps sometimes. The famous Rabbi Joshua Heschel said, "When I am marching, my legs are praying." And right now we pray together, march together, work together to make sure that democracy survives in our Commonwealth. Amen.
Good evening, friends. I am Bishop Dwayne Royster, Executive Director of Power Interfaith, the state of Pennsylvania's largest faith-based organizing movement with over 100 congregations across the Commonwealth, but 57 of which are right here in the city of Philadelphia, of Christian, Jewish, Muslim tradition who are committed to building a state that works for everybody. And we're glad to be able to be here tonight. In the last major election cycle, Power Interfaith, its members, its leaders, talked to almost 700,000 people across the Commonwealth about getting out to vote and exercising their right to vote in their election season. Oftentimes when we are in the midst of conversations with those that are voting, in particular folk of color who live here in the city of Philadelphia, they are often said, "My vote doesn't count, it doesn't make a difference. Nobody hears what I have to say. Nobody's really paying attention to what happens." As many of us are aware, the 2020 election became a bit of a fiasco as a result of the fact of election deniers that wanted to took up residence here in the city of Philadelphia, right down the street outside the convention center, determined to prove one way or another that Philadelphians had not cast their vote the correct way. When they realized they lost because they were straight up liars from the pit of hell, somebody ought to say amen. When they realized they lost, they began to think about other ways that they could continue to control the vote in Philadelphia. And so tonight we gather here because our district attorney is under attack. And it's not just about our district attorney, it is about black and brown folk having control of the economy in the city of Philadelphia. And if you want to know the truth about the economy of the state of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania can't survive without Philadelphia, but Philadelphia can survive without Pennsylvania. And so tonight, we are caught up in this circumstance and situation where we have to come here. Come to this place that was birthed out of racism and birthed out of hate. Come to this place which is right down the street, just a few blocks from where the Declaration of Independence was signed and the Continental Congress became the first Congress of the United States of America, where democracy was born in this nation. We have to come here tonight to continue the fight that began so many decades and centuries ago. So we come here tonight because we're fighting white supremacy that's trying to control black and brown folk, trying to control LGBTQ folk, trying to control poor folk, trying to control folk that they don't want, that they don't like one way or another, trying to control those that are disabled, trying to prevent us from having a say in the city that we live in and love so dearly. But I came by here to tell you that they don't know Philadelphians very well. And that if you try to come for us, we are not going to let any white Christian nationalist, we are not going to let any white supremacist, we are not going to let those that have the audacity to be elected to offices as state reps and state senators in places far on the other side of the state have a damn thing to say about what happens here in the city of Philadelphia. And oh, by the way, y'all don't know, Philadelphians do know how to travel. If you don't want to come here, we'll come out there and let you know just how we feel. So we're here tonight to stand up for democracy because these forces don't believe in democracy. They believe in autocratic rule. They believe in a rule that says that their version of Christianity is the version that should be forced upon everybody. They're coming after every woman, every person that's queer, every black person, every brown person, every Asian Pacific Islander, every biracial person, everybody that doesn't look and act and think like them, they are coming for, but we will not let that happen. Is that right? So tonight, as we come into this place, we remember that great Union statement that says, when we fight, thank you very much.
All right, let's thank Bishop Dwayne Royster, setting the tone tonight. This evening, we're going to hear now from Nicholas O'Rourke, who is the State Director for the Working Families Party, who's going to lead us in a chant. He will be followed by one of the persons who is living closest to the pain, Michelle Parker. As soon as Reverend Nick is finished, come right on over.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
One more time. Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
I was reading on the way up here and have been reflecting over the last 2 years. We've had a lot of time to think, haven't we? Toni Morrison writes an essay called Grendel and His Mother. She concludes with these words that I just think are appropriate for tonight. I know that democracy is worth fighting for. I know that fascism is not. To win the former, intelligent struggle is needed. To win the latter, nothing is required. You only have to cooperate, be silent, and obey until the blood of Grendel's mother annihilates her own weapon and the victors as well. Democracy is too important, clearly, to leave it up to politicians. It is absolutely essential that we black folk, we brown folk, we queer folk, we women, we Muslims, we Jews, we Christians, we many leave no power on the table and never take lightly when folk from out west threaten folk from out east. Are we feeling strong here tonight? Are we fighting for our rights tonight? Chant says, when our rights are under attack, tell me, what do we do? That was kind of weak. When our rights are under attack, tell me, what do we do? I don't see nobody standing. When our rights are under attack, tell me, what do we do? When our rights are under attack, tell me, what do we do? I said, when our rights are under attack, tell me, what do we do? I said, when our rights are under attack, tell me, what do we do? Tell me, what do we do? Tell me, what do you do? Tell me, what do we do? Power to the people.
Before I start to speak tonight, I want you all to take a look and a deep dive into the pain that I live with every single day. This is a picture of my beloved Evan Marquise Daler. My name is Michelle Parker. I am a resident of this beautiful city of Philadelphia, and I have a voice that needs to be heard. Juneteenth, the day that we celebrate being beautiful and black, was always very dear to me. It's something that I enjoyed learning about. But on June 19th, 2021, my life took a turn for the absolute worst you could possibly imagine. My 23-year-old son was gunned down in front of my home while he was selling his car. The intended target was the person who was purchasing the car. That person was brutally murdered in front of my home, and my son was shot with a stray bullet and killed as well. It has changed the entire trajectory of my entire family. As a mother of 4 children who raised them in the church, I know God. My children knew God. But why did this happen to us? So, as a person who always heard about gun violence and also had empathy for those who experienced gun violence, I never thought it would be me. But here I stand today, almost 15 months to the day that my son was taken. I have a voice that I refuse to be silent. I want to let you know what my journey has been like. I have experienced depression, anger, frustration. I have experienced help from those, including the DA's office. And let me make no mistake. What you see in the media, where they talk about what's not being done, I'm not a person that has that experience. I actually spoke with DA Krasner, and he can tell you that 3 days after my son was murdered. I said, I want you to look in the face of someone and a family who has been affected by gun violence. I'm not just a number. My son is not just murder number 259. We are a family with a face. We are a family that needs answers, and we need to work collaboratively together. My son was a scholar athlete, went to Penn State, junior deacon at church, captain of the football team, prom king. How did this happen? My family chain is broken forever. And even as I stand here today, I still cannot articulate the pain that is within my soul. If you are a parent that carried a child for 9 months, that equates to 40 weeks in your womb, and to know that that chain is irretrievably broken, I can't explain to you the pain. I could never understand the pain that other people felt until it happened to me. I still look for him to walk in the door, even today. I still have not accepted his death. But I stand here today to let you know that this is a mother, and we are a family that will not be silent. The Philadelphia Cares Program, which is a part of the DA's office, was instrumental in helping us to get through the process. There's still been no arrest in my son's murder. So the murderers are out. So I am not a person that points the finger of blame at one particular person to say, you did it, but I have a lot to say about it. Number one, I've been voting since I was 18 years old. I am 51 years old today. I still continue to vote, and I will be damned, excuse me, Lord, if I allow anybody outside of Philadelphia to let us know how we need to vote. Ain't happening. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. And I know enough about the democratic process, not just from learning in school, but my children were all registered voters too. Not just you have to understand the process. Many people don't understand the process. Many people want to silence us. We're not going to be silent. I'm not going to be silent. Not going to happen. And the thing is, you think that people like me that have children that have been affected by gun violence, who we are co-victims, that we are stupid, we are inarticulate and uneducated. Not me. Not us. And there's so many that are just like this. So I implore you that if you have people, I don't care about what's happening in Beaver County and Schuylkill County and Allegheny County, could care less, because you don't live here. And you will not let us know what's going to happen here. Not going to happen. So I implore each and every one of you to understand that your voice needs to be heard. Everything that's happening, there are always attacks. You have to look at what's behind it. Now, if you want to sit and tell me that the people that are our state legislators, that the gun laws that they've enacted and they try to protect those who are bearing arms, that somehow they're not in the mix, like it's tactics, you have to look deeper. You really have to look deeper. It's not just about how many people are killed in the city of Philadelphia. Who's really in charge of the laws? Philadelphians are not in charge of the laws. The state legislator is. Who's in charge of the state legislator? Think about it. So I just want to let you all know that making sure that you know your laws, and don't forget about families like us. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. As Bishop Royce reminded us, some documents were developed here about 250 years ago. And the first one said, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to separate themselves from another. Now, we're not talking about division. We're talking about the position that we stand in is a position whereby we want to regulate our lives based on law, based on the standards of law. And those documents, those regulations, those injunctions that we all have to respect if we are to be able to be united and live together. Those documents are before us. If you decide to dismiss them and separate yourself, you're the one causing division. Now, we are all here tonight, and it's when one people, so we're here as one people. We may have come in different ships, but we're in the same boat. And that means we have to row together. We have to take a position. We have to take a stand. And let me conclude with this. Generally, in the religious tradition, we say a prayer for those who are here. But I want those who are here who can remember to remind those who carry the banner of Christian nationalism. Remind them of this scripture from the Bible. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves, pray and seek my face, and turn away from their evil and wicked ways, I will hear them from the heavens, and I will heal their land. I will heal their land. Now, this is what they say they believe in. We have to remind them, are you going to be with this, or are you going to be with that? You got the choice. And that's what democracy is all about. We have a choice. If you choose to dismiss yourself from the democratic order, then that's your decision, but you have no place, you have no position, you have no voice among a people who stand on principle of law, principle of order, that we make all our decisions on. So remember, all of us have to row together. When you leave for the night, it's not over. We got a long journey, but let us continue the journey. Because it's not the destination, it's how we get there, how we journey. So again, peace be unto you.
My name is Michael Cord, and those who know me as the angriest black man in America. And I came here tonight not to speak. I actually came here in my role as a journalist, as a columnist. But when I got here and felt the vibe, this thing is like a family reunion here. I don't really know most of the people here, but I just felt it when I came in here. And in speaking with the family, let me just spend about 30 seconds explaining what I think is important. When an attorney friend of mine several years ago told me that he wanted to run for DA, person was obviously Larry Krasner. My thing was, where do I sign up? Because I said when he first declared his candidacy that I was endorsing him because he was, quote, the blackest white guy I know. And I still say that Larry Krasner is the blackest white guy I know. And I want to say this before I wrap this up. I tried to add a little levity in what I was talking about tonight, but make no mistake, this is a fight against fascism right here in Philadelphia. And that's not hyperbole. Let me repeat that. This is a fight against fascism. And we want to make sure that when we fight that fight to win by supporting the blackest white guy I know. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Kadita Kenner. I'm the CEO of the New Pennsylvania Project. We're a voting rights organization with the primary purpose of voter registration. And I have two statements to read from other organizations who could not be here today. So I'll start with Mimi McKenzie, the legal director of Public Interest Law Center. The actions of this House committee are an assault on democracy. Larry Krasner was elected by an overwhelming majority of Philadelphia voters in a free and fair election. As an organization that has been at the forefront in protecting voting rights in Pennsylvania, the House attempt to remove a democratically elected local official because they disagree with his criminal justice reform policies must be called out for what it is, an effort to subvert the will of Philadelphia voters. One more statement. This is from Al Schmidt, President and CEO of the Committee of 70. Our representative democracy is built on the foundation that the people should elect who represents them in government. That means honoring the results of a free and fair election is a sacred responsibility, especially for those who may have preferred a different outcome. There is no doubt that Larry Krasner was elected district attorney by the voters of Philadelphia. Any effort to remove him from that elected position is at odds with the will of the voters. The Committee of 70 stands with our fellow civic leaders in defense of our democracy. And then my statement as a voting rights organization that is statewide trying to register 1.7 million Pennsylvanians. Thank you. Who are eligible to vote but not registered in this moment. 1.7 million Pennsylvanians eligible to vote but not registered in this moment. This is the exact thing that keeps these folks out of the electorate. These theatrics, these political theatrics, they're going on in Harrisburg. Extremist politicians in the Republican-led legislature have declared an all-out attack on our democracy. Our freedom to vote and have our voices heard, our freedom to make life-changing medical decisions for ourselves, and even the independence of our judges and court system all hang at a knife's edge. We think about the horrors of the insurrection and that picture that it painted for us, a grim reality, one in which a relentless and violent minority rides roughshod over our rights until they get what they want. We see that right here in Pennsylvania, and we definitely see that right here in Philadelphia, where extremist politicians are attempting to force through even constitutional amendments. But in this moment, they're trying to undo the will of the voters who duly elected Larry Krasner. We will not allow them to suppress our votes and disenfranchise us. We've worked too hard for these rights and freedoms. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Jordan. I'm the president of the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers. Thank you. I am thrilled to be here. And the AFT Pennsylvania president, my colleague Arthur Steinberg, sent a statement, and I'm going to share a portion of his statement with you before I give my brief remarks. Arthur writes that the MAGA Republican majority in Harrisburg has turned their focus toward undermining our democracy. Endless sham election audits, fraudulent presidential electors, and overturning the 2020 election has become their legislative platform, if you can call it that. But overturning the results of the 2020 election just isn't enough for them. Now the House majority is behind an anti-democratic effort to remove Philadelphia's district attorney from office, effectively overturning a free and fair election he won decisively less than 1 year ago. Our fight to secure full and fair funding for public education and higher education cannot succeed if the legislative majority in Harrisburg succeeds in overturning the results of elections they lose. This effort is not about Philadelphia's DA. Whatever you might think of him, he has not committed a crime or any impeachable offense. This effort is about protecting democracy and expanding it so that we may finally have a representative government that serves the people, not the powerful. This action in Harrisburg against our elected district attorney, Larry Krasner, is an effort to deflect doing what they should have done a long time ago. Larry Krasner did not commit any crimes, as I said. He has not been an individual in our city who has been using guns to kill and assault people. When our city council and our mayor sent to Harrisburg the request to be permitted in the city of Philadelphia to pass laws that affect guns and what is happening here in Philadelphia a few years ago, the legislature in Harrisburg turned its back. These same mega legislators that I'm talking about, they turned their backs, and now they are going to try to blame the district attorney. We're not going to have it. We're not going to allow it because we know the trick that they're playing. This is our city. We elected Larry Krasner to be the district attorney. We're going to support Larry Krasner. We're going to stand up. We're going to support him because when we support Larry Krasner, we are supporting democracy. This nation will go under if we do not support democracy. God bless you.
Let's give it up for all of the speakers so far. Thank you, Jared. Now, we're going to keep this moving, but let me recognize a couple of folk who are here, who were in that same group that we did not see. First of all, Reggie Schufert of the ACLU is here. I want to thank the ACLU for being a consistent friend. And we also want to thank Unite Here. I know that they brought a bunch of folk there in the house. Thank you to Unite Here for being here as well. We are now going to hear from elected officials. We'll begin with state elected officials speaking on their behalf, but they'll all come up. We invite all of them to come up. Speaking on their behalf will be Senator Street. Also joining him will be Senator Hughes, Senator Haywood, Representative Cephas, and Representative Krajewski. Following the state elected officials, city elected officials will come, and speaking on their behalf will be their designee, but council members Jones, Brooks, and then also council member Gim and Commissioner Sabir. Amen.
Good evening. It was in Philadelphia, not far from here, where the Constitution was adopted and American democracy was born. But when it was born, not all of us had the right to vote. Women did not have the right to vote. Black folk didn't have the right to vote. And even really, land-owning white men didn't have the right to vote. But our country has evolved and moved forward. And now we all have the right to vote. In the process of that evolving democracy, we adopted a bunch of amendments to correct the problems with the Constitution. The 15th Amendment gave the right to vote to people of color, the 19th Amendment to women, the 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment required due process. And in the 14th Amendment, it said that the states, specifically calling out state legislators that wanted to pass laws that would deny the right of black and brown folks to vote, were in violation of the United States Constitution. The purpose of the 14th Amendment is to stop state legislatures from taking actions designed to stop the rights of black and brown folks to vote. Disparate impact refers to when something is done that is designed to seem to be neutral, but it clearly has the impact of taking the rights of black and brown folk away. In a city of 1.6 million people, where a district attorney was elected because people thought there was discrimination in the process for how black and brown folks were chosen. And then the legislature decides only in that county is it going to take action to try and overturn the rule and the vote and the decisions of the people. That is a disparate impact. And it is violative of the United States Constitution, and my colleagues in the General Assembly who want to proceed with that, specifically the Republican House Caucus, are out of order and it's unconstitutional, and we will not let them take away our right to vote. So we have I'm joined by several colleagues. I see I have 2 minutes, so I will yield my time to the Chairman Hughes.
Oh, really? It's like that. All right. You want to do the statements? Yeah. From Senator Nikhil Saval, the people of Philadelphia elected and then re-elected District Attorney Krasner. In both instances, his victories over his opponents were resounding. A gang of well-connected Harrisburg legislators seeks to lift their political capital by robbing Philadelphians of their vital freedom to choose their elected officials. Fortunately, these opportunists have no direct jurisdiction over Philadelphia. Senator Saval standing in support. Senator Anthony Hardy Williams standing in support. There is an effort to remove the duly elected district attorney because of some disagree with his policies and remain sickened, as we all are, by the current level of violence. I understand the passion, but this removal effort is flatly wrong. Senator Anthony Williams, State Representative Liz Fiedler, let's be clear. Right now, one party is trying to hide their own failures. I'm going to say that again. Thank you, Representative Fiedler. Let's be clear. Right now, one party is trying to hide their own failures. Their failures to regulate deadly weapons and to make real investments in our communities. Consequently, they want to take away our democracy. I will say this on my own behalf. You may not know this, but there's a district attorney, the district attorney for the county of Somerset has been disbarred, is on charges for sexual assault and harassment, but ain't nobody talking about impeaching him. In fact, they said to him, the court, you're going to love this, Art Haywood, the court said to him, go home and live with your mama and your papa, your parents, okay, until we figure out what we're going to do with you. Go live with your parents. Dismiss the district attorney. But they have decided to bypass the disbarred, charged on sexual abuse, district attorney in Somerset County. I didn't say Somerset Street in Philadelphia. I didn't say South Philadelphia. I didn't say anything like that. I said in Somerset County, they bypassed him to find their way to Philadelphia to go after this man. That's the racism involved. That's the politics involved. And we need to respond accordingly. Senator Street, the microphone is yours.
Let's go. Time's up.
Let's all tell Senator Hughes to go tell his wife how proud we are of her.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me now? Now, I don't think you heard me. Larry Krasner, our district attorney, was found in contempt by members of the House of Representatives. I am deputizing each and every one of you as we the people to find them in contempt. And let me present my case, District Attorney. We passed in City Council lost and stolen gun laws that we set up and said, if you lose your gun, if your gun is stolen, please just tell us so that we can know and track it down and be aware of it. They said, whoa, wait a minute. That would violate our constitutional rights to hunt deer. We go and say and pass red flag laws that say if someone on Monday jumps up and says, I'm going to shoot up the place, we can come and confiscate those weapons until there is a proper hearing. They say, whoa, Philadelphia. Why you want to do that? That constitutionally violates our rights. But yet and still, as we find ourselves every day in a battlefield, you won't give us the tools to protect our own, but you want to reach down and say, we find Larry Krasner in contempt. You are all deputized now. You've heard the case. All those who find them in contempt signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. They're in contempt.
For a legislature to talk about justice is obscene. For this legislature, especially for a number of the folks of a Republican bent, it wasn't enough for them to defund our schools. It wasn't enough for them to deny us a living wage. It wasn't enough for them to lock up more juveniles and put them on death row than any other state in this nation. It wasn't enough for them to deny parole. It wasn't enough for them to take away the very things that we hold dear. Our grief is on the streets. Our pain is unbearable for what is happening to our communities. And yet they are weaponizing that pain. They are weaponizing and exploiting the grief that people feel to scapegoat an individual who is at least trying to do something about the injustices that so many communities have faced. It is obscene for them to take the grief that people feel and to turn it into a weapon of politics. And shame on any Democrat that signed up for that measure as well. Justice is not defined solely by a party. Justice is defined by where we are going to stand in times of need, in times of pain, in times of injustice, and in times when we all are tested. I want us to remember that in 2018, immigrant communities worked so hard to stop the brutal deportation of individuals, from parents being separated from their children, from people being unjustly sent back to countries they had never, ever lived in. And it took a district attorney who came in to say that we are going to end an information sharing agreement with ICE. And there is no immigrant community, there's no Asian American, no Latinx, no Black, no Arab who is never going to forget that it took somebody to stand up and say that we will not tolerate this level of inhumanity against people. And he has never stopped there. He has only continued on. When we talk about this city being right for all people, a sanctuary for all people, a welcoming city for all people, Larry Krasner is showing us what it means.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? When I tell you that we are in an unprecedented time in our country, events keep on happening, literally. And it's coming upon us to stand up for democracy. This is larger than our district attorney. It's time for us to step up, show that enthusiasm that needs to be displayed. Voting is the very beginning. It's going to take us to yell. It's going to take us to flip over a few tables. It's going to take us to show another side of us that we may not have not shown. Because what we're seeing across our country, not only elected officials being threatened, we're seeing the FBI, life being threatened, and not just email threats. They actually will come to your place of business with armed weapons. In fact, that happened to my colleagues and I. They came down to the Pennsylvania Convention Center with automatic weapons. And if not for the swift action of law enforcement officers from the local, federal, and state, I really don't know if I would even be here right now. So I'd like to thank, of course, Commissioner Krasner DA Krasner, for standing up for our elections. When we do the election fraud and everything like that, it's the district attorney that's on the ground. And when he's fighting for all of us. He's fighting for that sacred right that we have, that so many people sacrifice for. So not voting is not an option. We have to get to our family and friends and let them know that they must come out and they must vote. Because depending on what happens in Harrisburg, who's going to be the governor, or who's going to run the United States Senate, your quality of life can change overnight. And yes, it's that serious. So everyone here, we need to knock on doors, remind everyone that they can vote. They can vote in the comfort of their own home. That's how easy it is. And we have to take advantage of all the freedoms that we have. So if there's anything that you need in regards with your voting, please, PhiladelphiaVotes.com. You can do everything you need in regards to your voting needs. Call our office, and we're going to get our vote count out. They want to mess with Philadelphia? Well, Philadelphia is going to vote, and we're going to show them what Philadelphia brings to the table. Are you with me? Are you with me? Well, let's do this.
All right, let's give it up for our elected officials from the city. I think Representative Guns here, aren't you coming back up later? Are you coming up to introduce later?
Are we not, is that not now?
No. Thank you. I don't want to mess your moment up. That's all right. She's coming back in just a few minutes to introduce our district attorney. Let's give it up for our city elected officials. Now, as Sheriff Rochelle Bilal comes forward to the microphone, she will be followed by Kasim Nicholson. And following Kasim Nicholson, who's a 9th grader at Mathematics, Civics, and Sciences School. Can we give it up for a 9th grader here tonight? Following Kasim, all of the former juvenile lifers and exonerees will come together and someone will speak on their behalf. Sheriff Bilal.
Good evening, everyone. Testing 1, 2. Good evening, everyone. I didn't hear you. Good evening, everyone. We came here to do the battle. I'm Rochelle Bilal, your first woman ever elected to be the sheriff of this city in 181 years. And I'm going to be honest, I'm mad as hell. How dare these state representatives, whether Republican or Democrat, gonna come here and try to unelect the people that we elected? How dare them? How dare them? Pay attention. Pay attention to those that call themselves Democrat that drunk the Kool-Aid. Y'all don't know nothing about Kool-Aid, right? How dare them? In my family, the saying is, I could get mad at you, but nobody else better not get mad at you. So if I don't like what Larry Krasner do, it's my right to get mad at him and vote him out, not theirs. You do not take away our rights to vote who we want in or who we want out. How dare you? How dare you mess with our democracy? How dare you? Look, I'm mad. I think they said Michael Kort was the angriest black man in America. I might be the angriest black woman in Philadelphia. Because I'm mad. So we got to show up and show out here in this city. We got to show up and show out here in this city. If we got to go to Harrisburg and show out to them, then we will do that too. If they got an office here in this city, we need to be at that door. We are not playing with you. You are not coming in our city and taking away our rights. So I want y'all to say, this is what democracy looks like. And when we fight, when we fight,
My name is Kasim Nicholson, and I am currently a student at the Math, Civics, and Science. This one?
Hello?
Good evening. My name is Nicholson, and I am currently a student at the Mass Civics and Science School.
All right.
The power of the people is displayed by a vote. Philadelphia voted overwhelmingly to elect District Attorney Larry Krasner. Our vote, our choice, our power counts. Next topic I am going to talk about is gun violence. Gun violence has impacted our city last year and again this year. We must learn to put the gun down and keep the peace. Because if we don't, who will? Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine. Wonderful. Now listen, this is really what it's all about right here. Young people and the group that's coming up next, a group of former juvenile lifers and exonerees. Each has a story. We can't hear them all tonight, but they're going to come up tonight and somebody's going to speak on their behalf. Come on, let's give them a big hand. You all stand on your feet. And we all stand on our feet.
Good afternoon, Philadelphia. I'm known to be the one to curse and drop F-bombs in the whole nine. I'm trying not to tonight, but I'm really pissed off. What they call our flyers? Broad Street bullies. Philly we don't lay down for nobody. You got these lames in the middle of the state trying to usurp our duly elected DA. And we're not going for it at all. We gotta let them hear our voice loud and clear. We're not going for it. Landslide Larry. We want by a landslide. You know, and this is about more than Larry, it's about democracy. If it was a Republican that got elected, it would be the same thing with me. You cannot take away our voice. Cannot take away our vote. We're not having it. We go around telling every American that every vote counts. Now we got these legislators in the middle of the state telling us our vote don't count. We're not having it. They're going to hear our voice now. They're going to hear our voice on election day. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. You involved in this shenanigans, this charade trying to pull off, we coming for you, period. To me, it's not about politics. To me, it's about what's right and what's wrong. What they're doing is 100% wrong. It's wrong. And if it was a Democratic-controlled legislator doing it to a Republican, they'd cry foul. And they would be right. It would be foul. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Sleep Hall Group to speak. But Philadelphia, we're not going for this. We're going to stand up, we're going to fight, and Larry ain't going nowhere.
Good evening. I'm just going to be very quick. All of the men up here, and there's many women also in the crowd, at one time we were called offenders. But if you look at all of us on this room, on this stage, we're now here in the community working to remedy a lot of the problems that we contributed to. And I want to thank Larry Krasner, I want to thank the politicians, and more importantly, I want to thank the community for welcoming us back, right? Because this is the community, all of us here. And also another thing, we may have been offenders, but all of us have family members that were impacted by gun violence in this Philly. There's no wall between offenders and victims in Philadelphia. And last but not least, I want to say this to anyone who tries to take our democracy. Our ancestors didn't hang from trees fighting to get the vote for us to let some people in Harrisburg take something from us. And then the other thing is this. As someone from Philadelphia, we ain't letting nobody take nothing from us. You're going to have to come and get it like you know how, as we say on the streets. So if you think it's going to be a cakewalk, if you think we're going to let you take anything from us, you got another thing coming. And like Reverend Royster said, said, if we got to go up to Harrisburg and take this fight on good terms, we ain't got no time to do it.
Good evening, y'all. It's a lot of different emotions in this room. I don't stand here to represent any particular party, but I stand on the side of my Lord and Savior, which is on the side of justice and truth. And I'm on the grounds every day dealing with these young brothers that people look at as and what they may call perpetrators of violence. We oftentimes hear the violence in our community being glamorized, polarized, and politicized now. How dare we have redneck folks from other counties trying to dictate what can happen in our cities locally. Also, what we have as well, because every skin folk ain't kinfolk either, we have those who are very, very disconnected from what's going on. And I say this because Philadelphia is not new to violence. Year in and year out, I've been here almost 4 decades. We've lost hundreds of black people. Hundreds of black people. So this isn't a Krasner issue, this isn't a Kitty issue, this is an outlaw issue. If we'll be honest, people get upset every time someone decides to hold police accountable. If we want to be honest, okay? See, I'm not political, y'all. I'm a pastor. But the moment this man decided to hold police accountable, there was a problem. The moment a mayor who they supported decided to hire a black woman from outside of their boys club, there was a problem. And what we see is the blood that's being shed in my streets, people are using to their advantage, and they're never in our communities. So what we have to do is hold these people accountable. And I'm talking Democrat and Republican, because I'm in the streets every single day dealing with families. Sister Michelle was at my church. We are dealing with these issues, and we don't see those very same people who have the audacity and the gall to speak on what's happening on my turf, and that sit here and have positions of power to try to control our narrative. So black community, if y'all will allow them to take and remove who we decided to vote in, that literally deals with the issues that primarily impacts us. The criminal justice system and the violence is impacting us. Nobody but us should have a say-so. So I'm being quiet on that. Thank y'all.
So let's give it up for John Reeves and former Virginia Robert.
Real quick, I only want to say one thing. Let everybody know, State Rep Omni Brown, we coming for you.
All right, we're going to now have representing the LGBTQ plus community, Kendall Stephens and Asa Khalif. Come on, give it up.
Hello. My name is Kendall Stephens, and I'm a Temple student. I grew up only 6 blocks away from here. And I walked past these doors when I was little, coming from the Carl Elementary, broken, bullied, dispirited, and voiceless. But Grandma, look at me now. Now I'm at the pulpit. Voice amplified. I stand here today because I am imbued with the spirit and pride and dignity of my ancestors. And I will say this. This is energy that I am feeling in this room. I feel pain, but also feel hope. But we have to take this energy and we have to galvanize the people in our communities because they need to feel what we're feeling in this space today, this sacred space that's been here for hundreds of years. Please bring this back. If you have a problem with anyone, please check your bias. We cannot expect the PA legislature to check their bias and we can't check our own. We have to be better than them. Okay? So please, let us be a microcosm of what's possible in our communities. Please bring that energy back to your communities. It can't be created or destroyed, but it can be shared. Let's power share. Let's do what they are unable to do. Because we can share power. Because we have it inside of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Peace and blessings. I'm Asa Khalif. They say my radical behind for last. But the bottom line is this. When LGBTQ rights are under attack, what do? Stand up. When women's rights are under attack, what do? You think you're going to roll up in here, Republicans, because we know what you're about. You're about rich people. You're about powerful people. You're about privileged people. You're not about working class people, and you're certainly not about the Democrats here in Philadelphia. But we're here to let you know we are the original Broad Street bullies. And if you think for a minute that you're going to roll up like we heard you today on the conservative talk radio, you're going to roll up in Philadelphia, I promise you, if you roll up in Philadelphia, we're going to roll you the hell out.
Here's your bullhorn, Mason. I don't recognize you out of bullhorn. All right, listen, we have a number of people who are prepared to speak, but we're going to honor your time tonight. But I do want to let you know who's here that came in support. And I want, even though this is running later, and I know my staff is going to get me because I told them we'd be gone a half an hour ago. But I think it is critical that people, especially through the media, see that Larry Krasner is not standing alone. That he is standing with a tremendous amount of support in this community because he represents the votes of so many people. So with that said, let me just acknowledge the fact that also stand in the room, and you can just stand up when I call your name so we can recognize you. Anton Moore, Rue Landau, Erica Almiron, Nice, and Tanya Baugh. Thank you all so very much. And also faith community leaders, Archbishop Mary Floyd Palmer, if she made it, Reverend Donna Jones, and the closing prayer tonight will be done by Reverend Collier of Black Clergy. We want to now hear from a victim shot in 2018, and he's here tonight standing, Jason Suber, who will be followed by Councilmember Gautier. Come on, Jason.
Good evening. My name is Jason Suber, and my life was affected by gun violence. My life was affected by gun violence September the 18th, the 24th, 2018. I was shot 16 times. I had to learn how to talk. I had to learn how to walk. And during that time, it was like kind of rough, but the DA services, they helped me out with like funding and get through a lot of stuff that I was going through. And I just wanted to say, we got to protect Philly democracy. And if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Councilmember Jamie Gaudier, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. It was very important for me to be here tonight to make a very clear statement. I stand in support of District Attorney Larry Krasner, and I wholeheartedly condemn the unconstitutional, partisan attacks on his office. The very idea that a call for D.A. Krasner's impeachment should come from 3 Republican politicians living hundreds of miles away from Philadelphia is laughable and insulting. Not only do these lawmakers know nothing about our communities, they are the same people who have time and time again refused to pass gun control legislation that would promote the welfare and safety of everyday Philadelphians. But one thing you can't do with Philadelphians is fake the funk, right? We are a tough city, we are a smart city, and we see right through BS. So you can't feign to care for our communities as we struggle with gun violence, but refuse to assist us with getting guns off of the street. You can't pretend to care about Black and brown people in Philadelphia and at the same time fight us at every turn for the resources we need to truly make our city safer. And you can't trick us into thinking you have our best interests at heart while disregarding our voices and our votes and attempting to undo the election of the DA we overwhelmingly supported. Philadelphians see through you. And we also have a clear eye on any Democrat that would stand in support of this political stunt. And to those Democrats, we ask, who do you serve? And don't get me wrong, the city's gun violence crisis should be top of mind for every elected official serving Philadelphia. It certainly is for me. I've spent my entire 3 years in office advocating for this city to adopt a more urgent strategy, fighting for dollars for prevention and intervention, and pushing for gun violence to be the top priority for every operating agency in the city of Philadelphia. And I do that work because of the impact that gun violence has had, in particular on Black and brown people in West and Southwest Philadelphia. But do you know who has been one of my biggest partners in that work? Our DA, Larry Krasner. And so I stand by him tonight as he stood by the communities that I represent. And to close out my comments, I want to state a fact and then make a challenge to all legislators on the Select Committee on Restoring Law and Order. First, the fact. The election for district attorney is over. Right? It happened in 2021, and Larry won. And he won bigly, right? And now the challenge. If you truly care about the well-being of Philadelphians, end this charade and pass new laws to get guns out of the hands of young people in our communities. If you truly want our communities to be safer in the near and long term, stop fighting us tooth and nail on efforts to improve education and quality of life, in particular for Black and brown folks in this city. Maybe have your select committee focus on those things instead of undoing democracy here in Philadelphia. And with that, I'd like to bring up my friend and my colleague, District Attorney Larry Krasner.
Simmer down or I'll knock y'all up. Just kidding. So I really want to start by saying thank you to everybody who has come out tonight, and thank you to all of these community leaders, activists, elected officials, all these voters, all these people who still believe in our democracy. They still believe that we can do better, that we can reform things, that we can improve them. I want to thank you for everything that you do every day and everything that we are going to continue to do together to fight this nonsense, but also to bring reform to a criminal justice system that badly needs it and that can only get better with the support that you are providing. So will you join me in a hand to thank everyone who's here tonight? I want to talk for a minute. I'm not going to talk long, but I want to talk for a minute about why. Did you ever wonder why, in the history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, there has never been an effort to impeach anyone for their policies? The only impeachment efforts that have ever occurred at the Pennsylvania, the state, to my knowledge, the federal level, have been because people committed crimes. When and where have you ever heard anyone say that I or the DA's office has committed a crime? They know we haven't. There's not even a suggestion. This Commonwealth is hundreds of years old, and yet, for some reason, all of a sudden, we're going to try to do what? We're going to try to impeach somebody because we disagree with their policies, even after 2 consecutive landslide wins, because this administration represents what Philadelphia wants. And now I'm going to try and answer your question, because you should know what is happening in Philadelphia is happening to progressive prosecutors in Tampa, my friend Andrew Warren, in Fairfax County, Virginia, in Chicago, Illinois. Some of these knuckleheads are trying to impeach Kim Foxx, who has done a fabulous job there. It is happening all over the country. Efforts at a recall of George Gascon in Los Angeles. It is happening all over the country, and I will tell you the reason they are doing this. Because they cannot win free and fair elections. They cannot win free and fair elections against progressive district attorneys in many jurisdictions because we are doing what our constituents want. We are bringing the change that our constituents need. Let me get more specific so you know what their playbook really is all over the country. More specific. 2 years ago, 10% of the United States lived in a jurisdiction with a reformed prosecutor. Now, 20.1% of the United States population, over 75 million people, live in a jurisdiction with a progressive prosecutor. We are getting elected, and we are getting re-elected, and we are getting re-elected again. And because they cannot win a free and fair election against us, they got to do something else, don't they? So what they're going to do is try to stop people from voting, intimidate people from voting. Then they're going to try to stop counting the votes of the people. And when they can't do that, they're going to come back later and they're going to try to undo the election some other ways. What are those ways? We're going to come up with term limits. We're going to come up with ways to transfer power away from a prosecutor who has always had it in just certain places. We're going to come up with all kinds of harassing lawsuits and all kinds of time-wasting things and all kinds of bogus investigations and complaints. And you know what else we're going to do? We're going to come up with, I don't know, impeachment for, I don't know, policies. That's what we're going to do. The reason that this is going on is because our opponents know that reform prosecution is on the rise, that traditional prosecution will not survive if the people's voices are heard and if their votes are counted, and that's why they want to erase your votes. is not just that we're winning and winning by big margins. You're seeing that voter turnout is bigger than ever before. In 2017, we ran outsider candidate. Everybody said it wouldn't work, right? Donald Trump had just won Pennsylvania by a total of 40,000 votes across the entire state. Well, in Philadelphia 6 months later, when we won, we turned out 50,000 completely unexpected votes, doubling turnouts from prior election cycles, and you know who those votes were. They were broke people, they were black people, they were brown people, they were all the people who have felt unrepresented and alienated by a government that wasn't working for them, and they turned out and they voted. The additional number of people who turned out to vote in just Philadelphia alone would have changed the outcome of the election when Donald Trump took Pennsylvania. What they know is that criminal justice reform is not just arguably as important a social movement as any in our time, but they know that criminal justice reform is the salvation of democracy, and they're not having democracy because it doesn't work for them. That is what's actually happening here. That huge increase in turnout in 2017, it happened again in 2021. It got bigger in 2021. And that experience is not isolated. When someone in government starts to say the things and do the things that people who don't trust government need and want, that is when you see tremendous numbers of people turn out. And they can't have that. It is a very long history that we have, a very sad history of government that kneels to power and to money. But this, in my lifetime, is the first time in the United States of America that I have seen people in politics actively working all the time to destroy democracy, to eliminate democracy. These people are holding hands with our historical enemies, whether they be foreign enemies like Russia, or they be historical enemies like the Confederacy, like the Ku Klux Klan, like white supremacy. That is what these people are doing. Make no mistake, they are coming for your throat. And we are not going to have it. So I want to thank you for everything that you are doing, have done tonight, everything that you will do working with us. And yes, I took off my jacket and rolled up my sleeves because we are working together and we got to keep working together. This is one battle in a long war. But the nonsense is going to come to an end. And David is going to beat Goliath. And I can say that in the house of faith. Because you are David. And I'll tell you one thing for sure. This state, this legislature knows how to take your money for taxes. They're also going to give you representation. We are not going to have taxation without representation. Philadelphia is never going to be a colony of Pennsylvania. With your help, we can defeat that. Thank you.